Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Candioi County Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, August 5th, 2025. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank everybody who's catching us on YouTube, and for the folks who are in front of us here today to listen and to present during our agenda. At this time, I would ask for approval of today's agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Imdak. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Dwayne Anderson seconds. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. We also have the consent agenda. These are the routine items, and they consist today of the approval of the July 17, 2025 County Board legal minutes, approval of the auditor's warrants and claims, we're paying the bills, canine purchase agreement, and New London Spicer School Resource Officer Agreement for school year 25-26, and Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program SNAP Joint Powers Agreement Amendment. Are there any of these items that any commissioners wish to pull from the consent agenda? Hearing none, then I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'll move.
Commissioner Dale Anderson moves. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Berg seconds. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. At this time, then, our first item of business is Caroline Kahn, our HHS Director. And Caroline, you have something for us here today.
Yes, good morning. Caroline Kahn, Health and Human Services Director for Candioi County. This morning, I wanted to present to you an opportunity for us to move forward with some of our technology enhancements in the way that our social services teams will interact, hopefully, with our community. Melissa, could you help me with the presentation? Absolutely. Thank you. This morning, I want to just do a brief high-level overview of what CaseWorks is, as well as what we're hoping to start to integrate moving forward into our CaseWorks platform. So CaseWorks is, in essence, an electronic document system in which we can put, in a layman's terms, I like to look at it as kind of like an electronic health record, but it's not your health record, it's your social services record. It allows us to securely store documents on behalf of our clients, watch through case trajectories, and engage in an electronic platform with some of our external
And Caroline, this is something we're already using.
Yeah,
is
we were
CaseWorks.
actually one of the first counties to go on with CaseWorks, and we actually host CaseWorks on behalf of other counties through our IT department. So we are heavily at CaseWorks. I believe there's 63 of the 87 counties are in partnership with CaseWorks as well, which also creates some great document sharing and link sharing when our neighbors move to other counties. So CaseWorks is a platform that we've used for many, many years. Today, what I want to talk to you about is this mythical portal we've been talking about since last year when we met, both during our budget presentation as well as our eligibility work session. And we talked about some of the enhancements that we can continue to do to move our work forward, and create streamlined processes and automation within the way that our workflows. So what is CaseWorks Portal? In essence, it's an opportunity similar to, if you think of your MyChart, you can go in and you can have secure messaging with your provider or with your social worker. In essence, you can share documents back and forth in a secure way. Again, I'm doing a generality just for a community perspective of what this could look like. So Mr. Gardner, Commissioner Gardner, you would get your own login and be able to go in and interact with what is needed from you from the county and what do you need to share with the county. Right now, a lot of things are done by individuals bringing things to our door, which then we have to scan and creates a lot of processing. It also causes a disruption in their work schedule. We work 8 to 4:30, and so do our neighbors. So they have to take time off of work to come and deliver documents that they might need to. Otherwise, we have to rely on the postal service, or email transmission, which is not always secure. So Caseworks Portal offers a secure and efficient platform for communication and document sharing between our staff as well as members of our community. It supports our engagement, and as well, it reduces our administrative burden and allows us to automate our workflow routines and task completion in a way that we currently depend on manual labor to do. Some of the core features allows us to send portal invitations, request documents securely. So if we're waiting on your driver's license, you can log into your portal and see driver's license needed versus having to wait till 8 o'clock tomorrow to call to say, what do you still need from me for my case? That causes a lot of discomfort and confusion and concern for our neighbors when they're trying to access their most critical services. So this would allow for an opportunity for them to engage with our department during hours that are convenient for them and see what's needed, as well as progress through this process. It allows us to share documents directly. So if we are sharing a case plan with a neighbor, they can go into their portal and see their case plan right there versus depending on having to find it in their email individually. Again, increasing our confidentiality and security as well. And then collaborate across counties that are using Caseworks too. So if a neighbor moves and then we're allowed to share with their consent, it'll create an efficient process versus having to scan all these documents and send over. Excuse me. As I've mentioned, for the client experience, it does have a high level of security as well as multi-factor authentication. It allows them to take a picture of their documents and upload that. They can view their documents for up to 30 days, as well as a really important factor is receive appointment reminders. Similar to my chart, I get an appointment reminder that I have an appointment with my provider coming up. If you have an interview with your SNAP caseworker, it can be part of that, so you can log in and see, okay, that's at 10 o'clock on Tuesday, which allows us to streamline our processes, because right now, if they didn't remember to put it on their calendar or don't know that we're calling, when we're going to miss that call, when you see that a phone number's coming in that you're not expecting, you and I both don't answer those calls, and neither do our neighbors, which then delays time in processing and creates additional burden on both our staff and our clients. So that would be a very welcomed feature to allow for that client appointment scheduling. The Caseworks automation portion auto-assigns case numbers and client data and document type, so it'll know where to send it. It does provide some security, so say you have a child support case as well as a financial assistance case and potentially a child protection case. It will know where to send it without the staff seeing all three areas. The staff still only see the area pertinent to them, but the client sees everything they're involved in. So it does create some of those safeguards and barriers within our own system, but creates the driver's license. It'll know to send it to the three places versus, okay, now it sits with child support, but we also need it over in SNAP and financial assistance. It creates some streamlining for that. It allows us to route documents appropriate to the case owner, like I just mentioned, and reduce that manual effort. So it really provides a lot of enhancements. I've done some due diligence in reaching out to some other counties, and Min Prairie was gracious enough to just kind of share their snapshot and how the portal works for their collaborative there. So, they've sent over 1,000 account invites to clients, and of that, 68% actually made the account. I need to be honest that will be a burden, and it will be a barrier, because it will depend on our efforts to communicate to our clients, to engage our clients to do this, and we can do that work. It'll also be something that we'll have to engage with our partners that are engaged in our work. We have a lot of robust partnerships in our community and in communicating to Woodlands, like, hey, if your individual's filling out their healthcare application, this is how they can go in, and they can also support that use of the portal. UCAP in the same way when they're looking at other financial assistance programs, it allows more client control of their case experience. Of the 4,500 tasks requested by staff, 41% have been completed. Those are really good numbers and show that the communities are engaging with this in the way that they're hoping. And again, even if it creates a shift of 25% workload burden and efficiencies, that creates a drastic difference in the way that we're able, and the speed in which we're able to interact with our clients. One thing that am really excited about is the ability for staff, like I mentioned, community members to engage with us after 4:30. A community member I remember seeing her at noon in the lobby, and she was like, it is such a difficult thing to come in to hand these papers in on my lunch break, and then that's usually when everybody is able to be there. And I said, well, if we had this, do you think you'd use it? And they're like, absolutely. Well, then we went back and we were talking, this has been a year-long discussion internally, and we looked at the numbers. Over 60% of the applications that are coming in to Min Benefits and MinSure are coming after 4:30. So of the applications we're receiving, they're coming in those evening hours, which tells me our community wants to engage with that type of work after 4:30. So this allows that opportunity to not only engage at a state level, but engage with your case locally in a time that's convenient for them. So in summary, I sound like a broken record, but it will be an enhancement to not only our community's experience, but as well as our staff experience, allowing for some automation. One thing we're trying to move to in partnership with IT is even when you come into the office, we're going to offer you a computer to fill out your application first, because that also creates less time, reading the document, scanning the document, going through this process. It also gets people to their benefits faster. If we're on the phone with someone, filling out an application through this portal as well as our online packets, it allows us to finish. I'm going to send you a link. You can sign that right now. We can complete that experience in real time versus, okay, I'm going to mail this out to you today. Please mail it back within 14 days and hope that it makes it through that process in the timely fashion that it needs to. So it'll, again, allow us to hit some of those completion numbers and those error rates that were, did you have a question? Oh, sorry. Not yet, okay. Again, looking forward to the future of the work that we're expected to do. This will just be another hat in our feather to keep us moving forward in that completion process and ensuring that we're hitting those error rates, markers and goals, as well as decreasing our postage and just paper utilization as well. It's not going to work for everyone. I need to be clear about that, and I'm aware of that, but it will work for a good chunk of our neighbors, which allows us to then serve our other neighbors more efficiently too. So it will be, technology is not something for everyone, so I'm not expecting this to be a saving grace for everyone, but I do expect it to be a meaningful and impactful experience. Our partners in Stearns County, as well as our partners in Western Prairie, are also using portals, and we've been talking with their supervisors. How are you using it? How are you getting your clients to use it? How do we deploy this in a way that's meaningful for our community? And they've all echoed, it's not for everyone, but for those that it is, it's great, and it allows more space for those that it's not. So I think that it's a very exciting opportunity. So a little bit about our contracts. Since we've been talking with CaseWorks about this for over a year, our original goal was to build it into our 2025 budget. Since that time of those original numbers, their pricing has increased some. So what we had budgeted for this process is a little short, so it's partially funded. I do look at things a little differently, and I like to look at what's our overall levy cost after FFP after we get our reimbursements. So when you see 30, that's our total cost, but that's not our net cost after reimbursements. Our net cost after the reimbursements of, because we receive a reimbursement amount for child support investments as well as social services investments. We also anticipate that those will be changing after the recent federal legislation. So this is the time that we're like, hey, we need to move this forward versus rolling it into next year. So we're looking at about 16.7 as our total net after reimbursement, and we had invested 8,000 into this year's contract portion. As well as professional services for their billing schedule moving forward. So I just wanted to be very transparent about that there would be a little bit of a net adjustment within our current budget period and/or use of reserves to offset that difference to accomplish this goal. My job is to bring forward information and let you guys make the difficult decisions. But I do want to be very open and honest about that process to make sure that we're making strategic investments in the way that we work, as well as in the way that we're able to work in the future and engage and serve our neighbors.
Caroline, if I may, and then I'll open it up to the rest of the board. I'm thinking of that single mom who, has to be at work, isn't able to take time off. We're out here, they're maybe, on the other side of the county. They're able to access a lot of this stuff after hours. And I just cannot imagine what a convenience that would be. And I think this is the direction that, general direction that we should be moving in as a county, is having more of those types of services. I think you're spot on here, so.
Thank you.
Open it up to the board. Commissioner Emdek.
Sure, thank you. I like the analogy with my chart because I think, or Mails or whoever
Yeah.
you're using, I think it makes a lot of sense. How long has this portal been available, and is it available as an app?
That's a great question. I've only seen it on the web-based interface, so I'll have to follow up as if it could be an app location on their phone. It has been in development, I believe, for 4 years. It's been since before I came to Candy, Ojai County. It's a product that they launched and that they haven't robustly jumped after because they've been slowly building. So I've asked that question to some of our other partners engaged, like, would you do it again? Would you do it at this investment? And every single one has said absolutely, because it not only is it meeting its needs now, but it continues to grow and develop in its abilities to meet client needs and grow that experience. So if we're getting people early adopting, it'll just continue to grow as it continues to grow in features.
Go ahead.
And do you know what the adoption rate is in Stearns and Swift and the other counties that you've met with, or even from the company itself, Caseworks?
I do have that in my office. I don't want to misquote. I think they were all similar to what I presented from Min Prairie's adoption rate of about that 40 to 60% completion of creating the portal and then actually completing the documents requested within the portal. So.
Commissioner Anderson.
Thanks. So right now, you don't have this right now.
No, this is not.
So what do you do now? Do the clients come in and do all the paperwork themselves
come
with
in-
you guys?
So it's a myriad. Right now,
Okay.
our experience is mail. So Commissioner Anderson, we're on the phone, we're filling out the application. Now I'm going to mail you this, and I'll send you a return mailer, and then have you mail it back, and/or you can come in to drop it off. So that creates that lag time and ensures that we have to touch it a few times in that process, and it delays our delivery of services for individuals.
But it's also time consuming.
Yeah.
For you guys, it's a lot of time where with this, person can just log in theoretically, and if they have issues, they can still call you, but they can.
Yep, and then
Okay.
it allows them, I'm looking for the correct word. I want to be very mindful of that creates a lot of anxiety and concern. I think these are your basic needs that we're helping meet in some of these areas, in their financial assistance areas, as well as some of the needs within our children's or our disability services. Also a very big convenience for those areas. But when you don't know, did I get everything in, and I want to make sure I'm doing what I need to do, that creates a lot of concern. And I want to be mindful of, like, that's also a priority for our department as well, is to make sure that we're helping provide people the information that they need. Yep, we have everything we need, nothing's pending in your box, and not having to have you call and do that, because returning 90 phone calls a day also takes an entire FTE.
But it also kind of makes it, if they have to come all the way here.
Yeah, a very
and
big
deal with
burden.
you, and then they forgot something or didn't have the right information, then you gotta set up another time because they gotta run back
Yep.
home, and so.
Yeah, so it's working, and it's worked in many years. It's just, this is an opportunity for us to push that needle forward and keep striving to provide the best service and experience for not only our neighbors, but our staff.
Commissioner Berg.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I got several questions for you. Why don't I start out with the first, if I may, with the first one, you said there's a big chunk, it could take care of a big chunk of clients and help a lot of them out. Any idea what % of that big chunk would be for the number of clients that have the internet or even a computer? Or is that, you're just
I would be
speculating.
making a generalized guesstimate, but I
Okay.
would anticipate that we have service connected electronically, at least half of our clients to engage with that, or because they're also engaging in telehealth services. They have some of those things, and we've helped build that infrastructure. But in order to hit those milestones, we are going to have to educate our staff on this is how, and that's part of that launch phase with CaseWorks is to help educate this is how we, hey, Commissioner Berg, can I talk to you about the portal and get you help signed up and get your email? That will take a little time up front, but pay off in the long run. That will be our responsibility.
And if I may follow up then, with CaseWorks, you said we've been using CaseWorks. Do we contract with them for any services then, or how are we using them now?
Yep, so we've utilized CaseWorks as a document management system.
So we're contracted with that?
Yep, we've contracted with them for many
So
years.
this is an additional
This is,
contract with
this
them?
is an additional contract for an additional service product or additional product that they offer.
Oh, and along the same, going back to the budget for this going forward, it looks like it does keep increasing. And I have a couple of questions. How do they come up with that rate? Do they estimate how many clients you're going to serve, or the size of the county, or?
I think it's based off of our county size. Or not I think, that's how all of our contracts with CaseWorks are based off of.
Oh, okay.
So-
And the example you gave us from the other group, how big a group was that then? That's pretty impressive numbers.
Min Prairie is 3
Yeah.
counties. It's Dodge, Steele, and Waseca.
Pardon me?
Dodge, Steele, and Waseca counties make up Min Prairie.
So it's pretty good size.
Yep.
Okay.
And they utilize it heavily within their children's department. This was just their financial assistance data. We hope to utilize it in children's to help make sure that we're hitting our 4E qualifications and information. It's an area that we're committed to growing in. So if we can say, hey, we need you to fill this out and provide this information with our families, that'll help improve that reimbursement through 4E as well.
Approximately how much training time is going to be involved in this? And then will we have a staff person then that will be trained as new people come on, how to use that system then?
So CaseWorks does provide weekly calls for our staff to jump on and ask their questions and learn a tidbit. We've been working on building our infrastructure for CaseWorks education and implementation as a strategy internally. Our new administrative coordinator is heavily versed in CaseWorks and a great partner, so she's added that asset to our leadership team to help ensure, so she's been going to every team weekly, or once a month to every team that meets on a weekly basis to talk about a tech tip and how do we ensure that we're utilizing these investments correctly. That has been something that we've been focused on and prioritizing. We've also been in partnership with CaseWorks saying, hey, this is the information that we need from you. So they've done a specific children's education time where they met with that team and talked through some of the processes. They've done that with some of our other teams. Like we've all talked about, products are only as good as you use them. So that's an area that we've intentionally been investing more efforts in on an internal basis with the existing relationships and would emulate in this new one.
Just two more comments. Commissioner Dwayne Anderson and myself are with the committee, maybe a meeting with you on Monday coming up.
Yep.
Maybe you get a chance, can you show us a little
Yeah.
bit of how that works? It'd be kind of interesting to know that.
Yep, I'd be happy to provide a link to a YouTube video. It was a little bit, 7 minutes. I didn't think you'd all want to sit and watch with me today. And it was really hard to grab pictures of what that looks like. But if it's something that we choose to move forward with, we can certainly then share those on our social channels to say, hey, this is coming for our community. So that it did exist, I didn't feel that this was a great platform and didn't want to jump the gun either, so.
I
But
just thought, as an
we've-
action item, it'd be kind of interesting
Yeah.
that we would be involved and
Yeah,
know
yeah.
about that.
And we've had casual conversations. I understand that we haven't had very formal conversations in various, either this meeting or our other meetings, talking about our technology and ways that we can continue to advance this. I didn't push that completely forward right away because we didn't have the leadership buy-in yet. We've gone through a lot of changes in our past year, but now our supervisors are like, hey, this portal would be awesome. Why can't we do this?
Okay. Yeah.
So now that we have that internal, it takes a while for adoption, and now we're excited to move it
Is there
forward.
advantage now that you brought this up and we should be voting on it, that any special deal, or is this something that?
The reason that
Why now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why now? Because if FFP changes from a federal reimbursement standpoint, we would miss out on on potentially 25% of that reimbursement. They are talking about changing that from 52 to 25%, and then this would directly be impacted. So,
So this is additional reimbursement we would,
well, right, the existing reimbursement is better than what the federal government in the Big Beautiful Bill has
but we're
projected it
not
to be.
getting that reimbursement at this point. This will be on top of that. Extra reimbursement, or is this part of a reimbursement that we'd normally be getting if we got this or not?
It would be within our traditional reimbursement structure right now.
So we're
but
taking money from something else then? No. Okay.
If I
Go
may.
ahead.
Yeah.
You may.
When we purchase any technology, probably as you know, we do get reimbursed for that technology. And so we probably are already getting reimbursed for the document storage software that we already using. So this would be an additional reimbursement if we were to purchase it.
what-
Yes, so I think that's what you're asking.
That's what
Okay.
I'm asking. Okay.
Yes. And
Sounds like a good program, going forward with it. So.
And I think if I may, I think the two things I can fully reiterate what Caroline said is software is only as good as we use it. And we have had CaseWorks for many years, and we all are kind of looking at the software and saying we need to utilize this because it helps staff time. It helps us be more efficient. It helps us say, maybe we don't need that other FTE. Let's utilize the software to help us scan and upload these documents. This is Caroline just explained it, the workflow automation is really going to be helpful because it's not only that we submit the information in the eligibility division, but then that might be a day or a day and a half then to get over to child support. The same exact information. Now that's on us, it's having that lag time to turn around and provide that service. I think the other point is maybe you want to touch on this a little bit, Caroline, with some of the federal SNAP changes that are coming up. How does this help prepare us to be more automated and our workflow in preparing for some of those increased administrative duties?
Correct, yes. The way I'm looking at this is it'll help improve our error rates for sure, because that comes not only on agency but on client. So it provides like almost an in-tune checklist on both sides that we can both work on together. So I anticipate it being a positive impact for that. I anticipate it being a positive impact for how fast we can meet those timelines within SNAP programming, as well as the additional burdens of administrative functions of verifications and things that are still developing as to how that will fully lay out. This will be a great tool in that resource. I recognize we've been making significant investments in this function of our work over this past year, and I appreciate that because with those investments, we're finally able to move things forward, and we're at that time where we can not just respond to issues, but prepare for future ones. So it's kind of that perfect timing that we can start to begin to implement this before it becomes hey, now we're trying to run to third base when we just hit the ball. I'm horrible at sports analogies, but I always try. But it allows us to be ahead of that game, and that's why when I've talked to other counties, they said, "Yep." Is it everybody using it today? No. Does it take some time for that investment in ahead of time? Yes. But it's going to pay off as we move forward into our future work.
Commissioner Dale Anderson, and then I'll come back.
Well, I think we've beat this a little bit to death, so I'm going to make a motion to go forward with the CaseWorks Portal contract.
All right, we do have a motion to approve moving forward with this. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, I was going to make the motion, so I'll second it. Yes.
All right, so
You
we
guys
have
just
a
don't want my
motion and a
sports
second.
analogies.
Further discussion. Commissioner Emden.
Thank you. So you brought forth, and I don't disagree with modernization and efficiency. 35 to 40% take rate seems a little low to me. So if it's going to drive efficiency, how do we get that to 75 or 80%? I mentioned apps, and I think that's critically important. And also, like in the case of MyChart, we didn't get a choice after a while. You're going to use MyChart, or probably have to walk in to get an appointment. So what is either CaseWorks or the county's idea for getting that take rate up significantly?
That's a fair question. I would say that they are only, I think, a year and a half to 2 years in, so that's a pretty good adoption right out the gate. And I don't know what their leadership strategy on implementation and making sure that this is a fruitful endeavor. To speak to you don't get an option, we can always prioritize that as an option for the way that we work with our neighbors. We can't make it an all or nothing because of that, like that access to internet. Broadband's been a strong conversation. This could be a tool in those broadband conversations saying, hey, we can also improve people's ability to engage with social services if they have the internet available to them. But it will, if we could take 40% or 50%, just to do round numbers, of the 90 calls we're receiving every day, that's half of their day now that because it's a significant amount of time to listen to that call, return that call, hope they answer, and then return it again if they don't. And if we could save a half a day in work, that will drastically improve our ability to streamline back to our original structures and meet those client needs in that way. So it will be something that we as a county have to commit to engaging with and commit to embodying in the way that we work with our neighbors. Same as we're trying to start just from that front door. Hey, why don't we fill this out on the computer? How do we work with our partners that are already engaged in helping navigate through MNsure? I'll use UCAP as the example. If we can help educate them, they can help empower people to do this too, and kind of share in that community adoption of this project. But it will take time. I expect to be in similar numbers within our first year, if not better. But I would take that 40% over no percent too. So
Is that going to go into effect, be available like as soon as we approve this?
No,
or-
it takes about a month for them to develop it, and then we would have an implementation process over September. So about October 1 is when we would launch, but we could start communicating and going on the radio and talking to our newspaper partners, using our social media to start to plant that seed that this is coming, and then have an intentional effort from in that last quarter of the year with everybody that we're engaging with to sit down and help make sure that they're signed in and create a login.
So by the end of the first quarter of 2026, we should have some measure of adoption
Yep,
rates.
yeah. We could have a measure, like make a goal in that last quarter of 2025 about just logins and that creation of logins, and then, utilizing that. And then by the end of the first quarter in 2026, we could measure completion rates, similar to how Min Prairie provided to us. And that's something that we measure utilization and engagement with our services on an internal fashion ongoing, and that would just be something that we add to our internal dashboards, that if you'd like us to come back and say, hey, we did this.
I think that would be
Yep.
interesting. Thinking about software adoption out at our place of business that I'm being encouraged as the old guy to pay for. But I always look back and say, well, if we buy it and don't use it, then it was gone down a rat hole,
Yep, and I take that as
So
our.
the measurement would be great.
Yeah, yep, and we can set that. I don't want to commit to what we want it to be here, but I would hope to see it similar. And then, always keep that moving forward. So,
Yeah, you're going to have a full implementation program and
education.
education, and it is in everybody's best interest that this succeeds. So I see this as a positive for our clients, for the community, and definitely for your departments and your people. So,
Thank you.
anyone else? Yep. Then we have a motion and a second, and so all in favor of approving the CaseWorks portal contract signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you so much,
Thank
Caroline.
you.
And then next, we have Margaret Johnson, Canada High Soil and Water Conservation District report. Margaret, good morning. And although I just said your name and
Good morning.
where you're with, please reintroduce yourself.
we go. Good morning, Commissioners. Margaret Johnson, Candy, Ohio Soil and Water Conservation District. Thanks for having me. So today I'll talk to you quickly about our district mission, review our 2026 budget request, briefly discuss some problems and solutions that we see, especially after this really wet summer we've had and historic wet summers. And then I have, since we had just celebrated our 75th anniversary last year, I have some history that I want to discuss with you about the district and some traditions that we've been upholding for 75 years. We were actually established by citizen petition in the 50s, so the statute actually became law in the 40s, following the Dust Bowl in the 30s, and it was really just making sure that there was the ability to make local decisions by locally elected officials. We are a political subdivision of the state, but we also have our own statute, so our anonymity lies with our district board elected just like you. Oh, I covered this part. We also have to follow the same laws that you do, open meeting law, our statute, which determines our statutory obligations and duties, and how the district operates within the statute is laid out in law. Our elected officials cover the county, and we're not made up of population, but we actually cover the districts for townships. So Brandon Smith would be the blue, Steve Friedline would be the green, Jane Youngkrantz would be the white or gray, Danelle Williamson would be the pink, and Jeff Martinko would be the yellow. Each of our board members serve a 4-year term, similar to county commissioners. So our mission is to encourage wise use of land and water and treat those resources with the needs for protection and improvement. Basically, we have long-range plans, we have long-range budgets, we help on a majority of our time helping private landowners with their private lands conservation. Our statutory obligations and duties are, through a pie chart together, this is a majority of what we do on our day-to-day. These are our programs listed and how much time we are committed to them. We do and have transitioned into comprehensive watershed planning, which we have done over the last decade now. And we have finally completed our 4th and final plan in the county, which was the Chippewa. So starting with the biggest, our cost share and technical assistance, this is what actually is being done on the landscape, private landowners doing private lands conservation. Planning is what we do when it comes to prioritizing the types of projects we're doing and where. We do have some service programs. We have some obligations through WACA and buffer law, and then we do Reinvest in Minnesota and Conservation Enhancement Program, which are perpetual easement programs. Our ask today is $420,800. As you can see, we have grown in capacity and need. The district has and is continuing to fulfill the statutory duties and obligations very successfully. And you guys have been involved in providing the district some much needed office space. So come visit us if you haven't already seen our new office. Today's request is a ask. This request is only 23% of our budget. All the rest of our budget comes from state and federal sources. And there is a need in the future. What we use this request for is matching state and federal grants. Much like any grant that is given, it requires a local match. Without this local match, we can't access that fund from state and local grant opportunities. Just to give you an idea of what we use this money on, though, for every $1 spent on conservation in our county, it generates $1.81 locally. We use exclusively local contractors to do our work, exclusively local co-ops to help buy seed for private landowners to do cover crops. And so When it comes to generating local economy, it is definitely a feedback cycle and feedback loop when it comes to the amount of money that we're spending locally. County statistics. I know I've talked about this before, but just to give you an idea of what we need to prioritize, these are the 4 major watersheds: the North Fork, South Fork, Hawk Creek, and Chippewa. And your guys' county is 551,000 acres. We have 361 lakes. When I say that, they're designated by acre size. So this is any lake that's greater than 10 acres. So over 11% of our county is lakes, and 29% is water. That includes wetlands, wet meadow areas, bogs, marshes, that type of thing. Of the water, 61% is wetlands and 39% is lakes. And then of the land that isn't water, most of that is in cropland, and over or close to 50% is corn. We have a lot of beans. And then the other small percentages are some candy crops, some haylage, some farmers that do have pasture yet. So how do we prioritize? Because that's a lot of resources. And it is the role of the elected supervisors to determine priorities. It is also the role of our comprehensive watershed plans, which most of you sit on those boards. How do we prioritize? Because it tends to be a lot. So when the North Fork and South Fork were doing their planning, what they were really focusing on was the quality of water. And the Chippewa and Hawk was really focusing on the quantity. So that kind of does create a divide in our office, depending on where the landowner lives, how we are approaching them when it comes to private lands conservation. Then the northern part of our county has a lot of quality lakes, and the southern part of our county is where we're seeing a majority of that ag land. Then to complicate it even further, we have irrigation, we have drinking water, we have urban areas, we have drainage. And when it comes to prioritizing, and by the way, we are sending all of our water in the county out. We're not getting anybody's water. 40% of our lakes that have been sampled are impaired in the county. We've lost close to 90% of our wetlands. And so it does, you could argue that if we're sending bad water to our neighbors, we're not doing very good as a neighbor. But there are things to do that when it comes to programs and private land conservation that we can foster collaboration between upland and upstream and downstream. And so these watershed plans have created a way, basically they've created a bank account to bring money to those priority areas. Hopefully you didn't get a headache from that one. One of the major problems that we're seeing too, and it's not raining today, but we have 130 years of data that has been collected through the university's climatology office, and that data comes through our office. We actually organize, I think, over 20 volunteer monitors, and we've had people doing it for over 50 years, which is really, really great. But the top 10 warmest years on record have all been since 1998, and I know that there are drought years that is called a variation in weather. I know that there are wet years, that's still a variation, but overall the trend, which is the red line, is showing that summers are getting wetter, which just means that more people are coming into our office needing our services. This also obviously impacts a lot of things like lake levels, ice outs, lake damage, drainage systems, in-channel and in-field erosion. So this is something that we do every day. Landowners come to us. They have maybe buried a tractor in one of these holes in their field. They need services that we provide for free, which is called technical assistance. In some cases, landowners do require that the cost to fix is too extreme, and so we are able to also provide financial assistance. So just some historic photos. These are obviously issues that have been happening all over the county, but the solution to this would be Grass Waterway, constructed in 1980. I did find this location the other day, and it's still there. So that's good. There it is. Another problem that we have is wind erosion. I took all these pictures except for the one in the top left, or my left. These were all just within the last couple years. It tends to be a problem more so over the winter period when there isn't anything on landscape. And since a majority of our county is ag, and we're seeing those fields maybe turned over a little bit more black, then our office would like to see a solution could be a windbreak. A solution could also be reducing the tillage that's happening in the farm. And here's some old pictures of how we did some reduced tillage in Regal and Atwater back in the 80s. And a solution could also be cover crops. So we help landowners with technical assistance. We look at the operations of their farm. We help them identify what would work for their operation. And sometimes we can provide financial assistance through those state and federal grants. Another problem, this isn't gonna be all bad, I'm sorry, is nitrates in well water. We are seeing that even in Candy, Ohio, anytime it's over 10 milligrams per liter, that is, you should not continue to use that well. We support a lot of, through financial assistance, the decommissioning of wells, or if it's not being used, the closure. And if there's one takeaway today that I have for you, it's that well caps are super important. So if you are on a well, please just go and look at your well cap and know a bucket doesn't count as a well cap. And if it's broken, that means that things can get in there, bees, rodents, contaminants. Whatever you are doing in your yard is also then going to be at the bottom of your well. The picture on the left is underneath a chicken coop. That was a well found by a landowner. The picture on the right was hit by someone mowing their yard. These are all wells that have not been decommissioned, and they should be, because they are providing a direct contamination source to their drinking water supply. We also have a well out in the middle of nowhere on the left. And the well on the right was in town in New London, and kids could just simply throw their toys down there or fall down there. I mean, compared to the 5-gallon bucket. So we do provide financial assistance up to 100% if you're in a priority area. The priority areas are more susceptible to nitrate contamination. And so landowners who come in and need assistance decommissioning their well, we help them. They have to find somebody who can do it. Now that we dug a bunch of wells over the last 100 years, we only started recording them in the 80s. And so now that we have a record of those wells, we actually now are able to record when they're being decommissioned. But some of these wells, we simply don't have a record of their location. There are wells that are out there that people don't know about, that weren't recorded, that were bought and sold by multiple people. If it's out in the middle of nowhere, you wouldn't know about it, but it also continues to be a risk to drinking water. So I'm gonna just pop into some history. This was the original board. I don't know any of the people's names, but I thought this was kind of fascinating. I didn't use a picture where they were all smoking around the table. And the history of our technology, I actually brought with, I'm gonna just show you how we used to read maps back in the 60s. This technology back then, to use a sports analogy, like Carolyn, was the 1990 Bulls. Like, this technology was very, very intense. So we would take photos from two different directions and then piece them together kind of like a puzzle. And then use these funny glasses called a stereoscope to read the map. And I can leave this for you guys can try it later. But you set it over the map and your eyes are able to actually capture the 3D image on the map. But we don't need this anymore because now we have LiDAR, which comes within millimeters, which is light detection and ranging. So they send lasers from airplanes, and now the mapping programs that we have, we are able to do 90% of our work on our computers and in our offices without needing to do planes and mapping that way. This obviously was some pretty state-of-the-art education now, but I urge you, if you get an opportunity, the fair, we have a new education display this year that's going to be very, very cool. Also, the history of our cedar. This is obviously an old cedar, but we have, we do thousands of acres every year to seed pollinator habitat anytime, and we work a lot with people who are doing their CRP plantings. Horsepower is also something that we went from 2 horsepower to 600, and all within potentially lifetimes of people who are still alive. But this also does provide a bit of a challenge for our office, that farming is different. And how we worked with farmers 50 years ago has advanced. We've needed to advance our technology. And we've also had a lot of family tradition. This is actually a 150-year-old farm. This is a great-great-great-grandpa and his great-great-great-grandson. He is a part of our climatology office reading the rain gauge. So we have a ton of family tradition that happens within our district offices. And speaking of tradition, our board selected the Anderson family to be our 2025 Outstanding Conservationist. We select one farm family every year, and the board selected Dale and his family. They are certified on Climate Smart Alliance program acres. They do CRP, they do CREP for wildlife. They have utilized several federal programs, which is great. Prescribed grazing, which I really, really hope we can get back into, and we need to see more in the county, but being able to rotate your cattle through pastures, and they also are Minnesota Ag Water Quality certified, so that's pretty cool. So congrats. Sorry to embarrass you. The Andersons now will be able to be recognized statewide at our annual convention in December, which is pretty cool. So back to my ask, all the things that I reviewed, and I have a whole lot more, just run out of time. The $420,800 is really for our 23% of our ask, or our overall budget, which would be a match to state and federal grants to continue doing private lands conservation. And all of the things that are in this pie chart. Do you have any questions?
And before anyone has any questions, I just want to remind the board that we're taking this presentation for information today. And also to our friend over at the right, congratulations to you and your family. Any questions for Margaret? Commissioner Dwayne
I
Anderson.
just have a comment about the wells. I'm glad to see that there is cost sharing, but I didn't know it at the time. I capped about 3 wells at our own expense, but it's good to know that there are well capping funding or whatever, cost assistance, however you call it. But
It can be expensive.
it's good that people
Yeah.
can call in. So yeah, I had a couple big ones. So
Oh, sorry.
that's okay.
Shoot.
So
Do you have
but
any
this
more?
was years ago, but
Oh, okay,
but
okay.
but I found out afterwards that there was, but
Sure.
so there might be more. I don't know.
Maybe.
So.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else? Commissioner Berg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, the services you provide for Kennewick County is just fantastic. And these are really a priority that we have. As you know, we've tried to fund you in the past as much as we can possibly do. So we'll keep that in mind as we go forward. But I did have a couple other follow-up questions. One is about wells and the other nitrates. Do you ever get calls to cap wells within the cities? I know in town, as towns grow, you know, they have had wells in them because they're outside of city limits at one time. And I think there's probably several that probably have not been capped. And that's one question. And the other question I had was about nitrates. It really looks like the nitrates are more involved in the water in the northern part of the county. And I'm assuming, is that because of the glacier?
Okay, yes, correct. The soils are more susceptible to contamination because they are sandier, and so it's easy for water to infiltrate. So you're right. And the second part is we do get calls from inside the city limits of wells that are in people's basements
Yes.
that we help, and wouldn't you know, it's more expensive to cap a well in someone's basement than it is out in the middle of a field. And so those people do need financial assistance, and we help them with that financial assistance. Yeah, so yes, good question.
Anyone else? Commissioner Imdahl?
Thank you. Again, mine is more comment related too. So as in many counties, but particularly Kansas County, there's a sort of a delicate balance between ag, which is our #1 economy, and tourism, which is our #2 economy. And I think the work that you are able to do helps balance those two economies by, bringing awareness to conservation efforts that will keep both our groundwater and our surface water clean. And feel like we're kind of losing the battle a little bit because of, you had the chart there about the frequency or the amount of rain in a year since the 1980s. It's not just the amount of rains, as we well know this year, it's the size of the events. And it just pains me to drive through the countryside and see the washouts that we're getting because of these torrential rains. And sometimes I feel like all the work you do, you can work hard all summer, and the next summer, some of it can wash down the stream anyway. But probably the chart that is the most telling is that we are still really trying to keep up with our neighbors who have even less of the dynamics of water or tourism and agriculture than we do in terms of the budgets. And I know we're trying to catch this up, so I appreciate the work you're doing, and we'll certainly try to do everything we can to honor this request.
Commissioner Dale Anderson?
Yeah, just a comment. Thanks a lot, and I do have to say that my son is probably the reason that we got this award, because he's the one that's really taken a lot of time and a lot of effort into doing anything that's possible to do something different and something crazy, I tell him sometimes, but he's done a lot of work with that. But the biggest thing I want to say, and I think this is for the public, is all it takes is a phone call. If they can't help you, they can't help you. But if they can, there's a lot of opportunities by calling the Soil and Water Conservation. And a lot of people don't even understand what's all available and what options are there. So all it takes is a phone call, and 90% of the time there is going to be something that they can do. So that's what I think it's kind of amazing that I found, is it just asked. Margaret just said to me, well, yeah, we could do that. And I've said, no, you can't. And, it's just interesting how you don't even realize what's all available. So thanks.
Commissioner Berg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Margaret, most of the time you're so positive. Oh, we can work this out, we can figure this out. And I really appreciate your attitude to a lot of different things. But I guess that's probably it.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, Margaret, thank you so much, and thank you for your presentation. We'll take a 5-minute recess.
Come use this. I want you guys to try it if you get a recess.
Through them before. Colleagues.
Yeah, bring it down to my level, Margaret.
IT, are you ready?
The Candioi County Board of Commissioners is back from recess, and at this time, we'll have Barbara Carr, Executive Director for Candioi County Economic Development. And this is also an item for information today. Barbara, good morning.
Good morning.
And if you'll pull the
Oh.
mic over there, if you'll kind of slide over just a little bit.
You bet. I'll go like
We
this.
got to get you on, whoops, now we lost a cord there.
That's just the power cord. You should
Oh.
be okay.
I'll throw it in there just in case.
Okay.
All right, we're good. Go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to be here to talk about our budget for Candido County's economic development. I wanted to just kind of start out with what we do at the county level. KCAD is the primary economic development authority here. We focus on countywide economic growth. We coordinate grants. We work with our partners to provide planning, technical assistance for local and regional projects. And we operate under a joint authority agreement with the City of Wilmer to serve as their EDA as well. In New London and Spicer, they have their own EDAs. So one of the things I wanted to just quickly point out is how do we optimize our network to improve our success? How do we differentiate ourselves and demonstrate our county from other regions? And one of the major factors, you just heard it, value-added agricultural processing, infrastructure grants that provide successful improvements to our water, wastewater, and power needs. We work with large, mid, small-scale brand manufacturers. Some of our prior success to similar businesses allow us to have room to grow in additional businesses in the area. And understanding how we as a community contribute to that operating success is that we are a pro-business. And then we consider what can we realistically accommodate, and that includes availability and suitability of the sites and the locations for development, understanding our local brand that defines our region as agricultural, and attracting more tourism to increase sales tax revenue that provides essential services in the county. And the way that we do that is we partner with our grants, our loans, and our projects. And I just put a little bit on the side just to help you understand. MMDC looks at 4 counties. Wilmer Community Area is looking at the Wilmer area. Southwest Initiative has a large portion of the southern part of the area. And of course, DEED is for the whole state. So these are our partners, and these are the people that we try to work with to move projects forward. This came from the Association of Minnesota Counties. I wanted you to be aware that funding is changing, and our ability to receive grant funds will require us to work on an economic development regional level. When we apply for grants, it will no longer be a situation where you'll be able to receive the funding if you're applying just as your own organization. We need to consider the region as a whole, and that's why I share with you about who our partners are. And this is just to kind of give you an idea about who we are and what we serve and the resources that we provide. Obviously, you're aware, we've been around for a long time. We've served under this joint powers authority between the City of Wilmer and the Candido County for over 20 years. We provide site selectors and developers the opportunity to find locations within our area. We meet with them and encourage them to come here. We describe what we have already, and we support our local businesses to expand and grow. So some of that requires us to be able to get out into the community and meet with our businesses. I had the opportunity to do that with Chuck last week, where we went out some of the businesses that are in the outside areas of Atwater and talked to these long-term businesses that have been supporting our agriculture in our region. Again, we're pro-business. Our focus areas include advocacy. When we hear from a company that says that they're finding it difficult to work in the state of Minnesota, we start to think about how can we make that better. Recruitment and retention, building collaborative relationships, education and technical assistance. Those are the things that we focus on. We include our promotion of development of new industries and support existing businesses which have a focus on ag innovation. Our broadband met yesterday. We talked about the work that we've done in the community, the work that still needs to be done in the community to make sure that even though the ARPA funds are slowly dwindling, and that's what we use as a resource to provide that fiber optics in parts of the county, we want to continue to be able to support having the entire county covered. and that's going to take a different way of receiving the funds. We also assist in creating and retaining workforce by helping with housing, training, and child care initiatives. So that's our current focus. We look at industrial development, agricultural innovation, housing, workforce, childcare creation and retention, broadband accessibility, Elevate Community Business Academy, and there's one more under there, but we're not as compatible on our screens. But then, in order to do what we've done in the past, we've certainly had some good metrics that have allowed us to access funds and create additional efforts here in the community. But now we're at a point where we're going to do a strategic plan update. That timeline will begin in January. We hope to have it completed by July so that when the 2026 year end for our strategic plan, we're ready to go for the future. And so that's going to require some conversations with people that are in this room and in other places. We hope to do that in alignment with some of the Vision 2040 plans to reach out to 10,000 people and make sure that what we do in the future, and we forecast that based off of community engagement. And one of the ways that we work is through committees. We have our finance committee that reviews the revolving loans. We also have our broadband and advanced technology that thinks about what are the costs to do this and how can we create funds. Our agriculture and renewable energy is trying to stay on top of the changes that are happening in agriculture and how can we best support that either through conferences or visits to people who are doing something different. Business retention and recruitment has been a little bit different here. We've really focused for the last few years on the childcare initiatives and making sure that we have enough childcare slots because we recognize if a workforce doesn't have a place to have their children be during the day when they're working, it's difficult for them to go to work. And there's other ways to do that as well with business retention and expansion, and it includes those visits to go see those businesses, find out what their challenges are, and try to figure out how we can solve those. Right now, Farm Fest is going on, so some of our marketing dollars are going to support the tourism that happens in our community, and we'll continue to look for additional ways to market our county. And then just in general, we contribute to a number of different organizations to continue to put our community in the best light for the people that are out there. So we do some funding for manufacturing through the Central Minnesota Tour of Manufacturing. We support Vision 2040. We had a meeting yesterday to talk about what are we going to do next and what do we think can be supported. We offer professional services where we're working hand in hand with other organizations and people to make sure projects get off the ground and are supported. And one of our big expenses is the Elevate Community Business Academy. You'll see that on this slide. In the past, we've been able to access funds through grants, and we'll continue to try to find those grants going forward. And then just in general, we're a part of a lot of different professional networks because we need to be in a place where we can meet people who are looking for their next location. And this is just to show you that the budget balance, that some of these are on the left are just some additional, that's where our funding comes from, the $710,958. It's different than what you'll see from your 2025 and your 2026. And that is because we want to operate where we know exactly where our money's coming from, and this is how we manage our budget. Grant funds and corporate sponsorships, those are things that we need to work on and develop, and it will go towards projects and programs as we go forward. And with that, I'll ask if anyone has any questions.
Barbara, thank you for the presentation. I'll just, for folks out there who may be wondering, three of us serve on the Joint Powers Board, Commissioners M. Deckenberg and myself. And then we have three of our friends from the city of Willmar that are on that Joint Powers Board as well. So I'll ask if anyone has any questions for the director. Roger?
Well, I took some phone calls, and budgets can be really challenging to look at and evaluate fairly. And I was taking some phone calls and messaging in the last 48 hours, actually, about one of the budgeted items would be a salary increase for the executive director yourself or whoever is in that position. And I just want to make it clear that we do this all the time with our staff. You know, we got our COLAs every year, and just because it's in a budget for an upcoming year doesn't mean that tomorrow Barbara's going to get a raise, because it has to be budgeted in order for it to happen a year from now or whenever it's deemed correct. So just wanted to say that, because I have taken some phone calls and I've dealt with them in a way that I think they understood it, but just so you know that.
All right, thank you for that. Anyone else? Commissioner Berg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to weigh in too. I want to thank you, Barbara. As great presentation. I was wondering how you're going to do a presentation, because the KCED, or Kansas County Economic Development, is so, it's got, many parts to it, as you put out there, and you condensed it really well. And I want to thank you, and I think we're in good position moving forward now, and the budget we're all pretty familiar with. We want to bring in more businesses and support the businesses we have, and do an excellent job, so thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, Barbara, thank you so much for the report, and thank you for the conversation in your office yesterday as well. And so I don't have any questions for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is County Sheriff Eric Tollefson with Sheriff's Office report.
Good morning, Chairman, Board. Eric Tollefson, Kansas County Sheriff. I'll be really brief since my time expired about half hour ago, so. I'll just breeze right to the kind of the highlight of my presentation. I just wanted to kind of bring to your attention something that's been in existence for a little over 35 years, and that's the C6 Drug and Gang Task Force. Reason I'm bringing that, it's not for an ask by any means, but it's just simply to cast some or additional attention to some of the work that they've been doing at keeping our communities safe and violent crime and drug-free to the best of their ability. There's been a few items in the news as of late of some significant cases that they've been working on. One in particular was a relatively large methamphetamine seizure here in June, the likes of which I don't think historically we've ever seen around here. And I think it's just important to recognize the work that these folks do. Again, just a brief background. The Drug Task Force was implemented back in 1990, I believe. It was 6 counties initially. Ross and I were trying to discuss or determine which the original 6 counties were, and we couldn't remember. Could be that's the year I graduated from high school, so there's no way I would know that. Anyway, currently we are comprised of 5 counties, that being Kansas, Meeker, Chippewa, Swift, and Yellow Medicine. And we have 7 agents total that are operating that task force. 2 from Kansas County, 2 from Meeker County, 2 from Swift County, and 1 from Willmar Police Department. One of the, and I'll get right to kind of what I'm talking about here. Just some quick stats as of this year to date, within the last 6 months, the task force is responsible for 186 arrests in the service area, $11,000 in cash seized, 56 meth seizures totaling a little over 700 pounds, 86 pounds of marijuana seizures, 153 searches, 17 child removals, and the seizure of 46 firearms, and that's in the last 6 months. We're seeing, and Commander Ardoff can speak a little bit more intelligently about this, but we're seeing some trends that are just a little bit more disturbing. the purchases that the task force are able to make are falling off. And that's in large part due to lack of cooperation with informants and that kind of thing. There's a lot of theories out there that could be directly related to lighter sentences for controlled substance crimes, which would then of course, be less of an initiative or a reward for someone to work with the task force. However, the seizures are up quite a bit, actually. And another thing that I think is worth noting, we've operated kind of under the same size, since the task force inception by as far as personnel and service area. Our budget, however, is an area that's kind of, I think, is worth bringing to light is we look back over the last 10 years, and our operating costs, of course, have gone up 42% in that time frame. Of course, large part due to salary, cost of vehicles, cost of operating. Forfeiture revenue has drastically dropped. That's in large part changes to forfeiture laws and that kind of thing. So that money is no longer available. We have raised our per capita over that 10-year period to to offset those costs and maintain the staffing level that we felt is necessary. However, the grant that we receive in that time frame has only increased less than 10%. And in fact, in the last 5 years, it's been stagnant. So something to talk to your local lawmakers about. And, but anyway, so that's really quick. My visual aides here are Sergeant Ross Ardoff, Commander of the Drug Task Force. Ross has been with the Sheriff's Office a little over 20 years after he made the transition from the Wilbur Police Department. And he's led the task force for over 11 years now. And then Agent Josiah Puckett as well. So if you got any questions, the three of us would be great to, or try and answer them for you.
I'm going to try one just, and if you don't have the information, that's fine. But what are the impacts of cannabis legalization surrounding all of this? Because, I mean, they have some fairly large personal possession limits now, and just, can you speak to some of the difficulties and challenges that you're finding with legalization?
I think it'd be a good question for one of the two gentlemen to my right to answer. Whoever wants to take this one?
Specialist right here.
We'll just give your name and.
Yeah, and just up to the microphone, introduce yourself.
Ross Ardoff, Sergeant with the Canandaigua County Sheriff's Office, Commander of the C6 Drug and Gang Task Force.
Nice pass off. Josiah Puckett, agent with the task force. I think the biggest thing with the cannabis laws that went into place is that the state really wasn't ready to implement all the stuff that they had happening. So we're seeing a huge illegal market that's come in. A lot of the states that had legalization already were shipping stuff in here, and we're seeing a continuation of that. We're seeing a lot of grows that aren't actually in compliance with the new laws, and not to say that we're not investigating all those, but we have a lot of other drugs that we're trying to deal with meth and fentanyl. And so it's not exactly our favorite thing to be going and trying to follow up with all the house grows that are happening. But it's created a large black market because there's not a lot of actual places that are growing and selling it legally right now. And then there's a lot of the local smoke shops. Everyone's kind of trying to get their money while they can, and there's no one really out there doing compliance checks on any of the people to make sure that they're doing that. And with the marijuana industry, they're also, it's a huge money maker. I mean, it amazes me all the stuff that they've done with marijuana products, all the different things that are coming out between the vapes, the vax. We're seeing crystal substance that looks like meth, but it's actually THC products, and they're all very high in potency. They're upwards of 90 to 95% pure THC. So we're dealing with a lot of legit stimulants instead of just like the marijuana from the 70s, which was 3 to 5% THC. So huge black market that's coming here, and not a lot of regulation coming from the state at this point.
Yeah, I think we can all safely say that the rollout by OCM has been less than optimal. So, Commissioner Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first off, I want to thank you for risking your lives all the time. And you've got the kind of job that's out there we don't hear much about. You know, we hear other things that may take place with the sheriff's department, but you guys are working, or all, and I won't say you guys, but your staff and this program is working behind the scenes, and you're saving lives as well for what you do. I'm just amazed at capacity, how effective you have been. When I read in the paper about these busts and the different raids you have to make on different areas and respond at all times of the day, and how you do this in secrecy. And I just commend you for that, but I also don't hear much about the needs, because it's, how can you accomplish all this? And are you needing more staff? Is there even more needs out there? And I know this is for information only, but my question is, and Administrator Baker too can help me with this too, the funding, though, to fund this program, since we're five counties involved, is that the 5 counties have to get together and work on the budget together. We all put the same amount in percentage-wise. Is that the way it goes?
Not necessarily.
I think it's per capita.
It is
Per capita?
It is per capita.
Per capita,
Commissioner
okay.
Anderson sits on, do you chair?
I do not.
You don't chair, but he does sit on the committee.
Okay.
It's Sheriff from,
Sheriff Cruz, Meeker.
Yeah, Meeker
Sheriff
County.
Cruz, Meeker County is the chair right now of the board.
Yes, so it's based off per capita, and each county pays in. We house all of the agents within our building. And I'm sure the sheriff and commander can speak way more to this, but it's based off per capita, and then we have a staff member that bills out the counties, and then they pay in for each county pays for their certain FTEs that are within the task force.
Okay.
Yeah, the per capita is a certain dollar amount per resident based on population for each county. And we're currently serving a little over 99,000 residents in the service area. So it's a dollar amount assigned to each one of those people, and that's what each contributing agency will kick in. Just to bring up, you mentioned staffing, we did consider reducing the task force by 1 agent this year as a result of the stagnant grant, and then it caught the increase of expenses. But everybody sitting on the board went to their respective pocketbooks, so to speak, and decided to make some creative adjustments to how we reimburse each agency, and then also to increase the per capita. And so that's how we were able to maintain. We didn't want to see the reduction in staff just simply because of the trends that we're seeing. I mean, we're not seeing less, we're seeing more, so.
Commissioner Dwayne Anderson.
so I sit on the task force, and it's a very interesting meeting. It's kind of scary too, because when I first got on there, I had no idea how many drugs or whatever that you guys, collected or, apprehended or seized or whatever you want to call it. But I have great respect for you guys. I always tell them, or I've told them, some of them, if I was in their shoes, I'd be like Barney Fife. I'd be so nervous, because what you guys do, I mean, you guys are the point of the spear. So thank you for what you do.
Commissioner Emdek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is more of a general statement about law enforcement, and I was just making this comment to my wife the other day as we were driving to a baseball game, and we met one of the squads, and I said, growing up in the 60s, we never had any interaction with law enforcement like at DARE or at school or anything like that, and so they were sort of your adversary, because you might be driving too fast, or as a teenager, at a party someplace that you're worried about getting busted, but you're really about public safety. And I remember a now retired New London ambulance operator that sent me a note one day and said, Roger, he said, just want you to know that the Sheriff's Department and the Highway Patrol are the greatest partners we ever have when we go to these accidents, because not only are they keeping the public safe as they deal with the accident, they're keeping us safe, because they're working in some conditions sometimes that, quite frankly, they're in danger themselves. They might be in a road ditch or on the shoulder of a road dealing with the patient, so thanks for that work.
All right, anyone else? All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you for the work that you do, and You'll all be out at the fair again this year, yes?
We will be, yes. So, yeah, just in closing, I'd like to thank the board as well for their continued support, as well as the boards of the other participating counties. It's, without that, we couldn't do what we do, and really appreciate it. So, take care.
Thank you again. All right, we have two action items coming up. The first one is Resolution 2025-25 for the Minnesota Clean Water Partnership Project, low-interest loan program. Well, there's a lot there. We'll let our guests introduce this. That's about 4 lines there. So please introduce yourselves and good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Krista Krupa. I'm environmental specialist, Candy, Ojai County, obviously. This is Logan Bankston.
Logan Bankson, taking over septics in the fall when I get my training and certifications done, so.
Yes, so I brought Logan along today to kind of introduce him to the board and to get him used to presenting and that sort of thing. So he'll just kind of watch the process. As you know, I came before you in May to ask for permission to submit a work plan to MPCA. To ask for funds in a loan program because we are depleting our funds out of our current loan agreement. So I know that you guys are up against some time, so I've given my spiel before. So today I come before you with the general obligation note is the first resolution for you to sign to enter into that agreement. And then the second one is to designate the environmental specialist as the project representative to ask for those funds as we need them, and then to, get them into the auditor's office to be put on as a special assessment. So there are those 2 resolutions that I'm asking for.
Mr. Chair, I would move on Resolution 2025, the first one is 2025-25.
All right, we have a motion to move on the resolution, first resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
All right, discussion, any questions? Okay, so Cliff Note version, if you could describe this for the folks out there in 30 seconds. This basically is a program that allows them to access
Yes.
funds to
So
upgrade
loan funding.
individual sewage systems, yes?
Correct, yes. So low interest loans. So our previous loan agreement was 1% for 10 years. This loan agreement would be 2.5% for 7 years, goes on your property taxes as a special assessment, and can be paid off or paid down at any point without penalty.
Okay. And does the higher percentage, does that begin at the, at next year or upon implementation?
Upon implementation. So once the system is installed, then we receive the invoice and we would pay the contractor directly. In that year that we are in, they get prorated for the remaining months of that year for interest only, and then the principal and interest would then begin that next year.
Okay. Any questions? All right, then we have a motion and a second on Resolution 2025-25. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And then we have another resolution, 2025-26.
Yes, so this resolution would allow for you, well, it would designate either myself or Logan to request the funds from the MPCA as needed, because we're kind of a pass-through at that point. So as we need the funds, we would request them from the MPCA, and then that would allow us to do that instead of coming to the board every time.
All right. Commissioner Anderson.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to pass Resolution 2025-26.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Dale Anderson seconds. Discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner
thank you.
Imdak.
I'll speak from firsthand experience because we had to put a new system in and most of our neighborhood tends to be putting 1 or 2 in a summer.
Yes.
And the public should not be reticent to come and talk to you. It's a very, very easy process and it does help to come up with anywhere from $12,000 to $20,000 to put a septic system in is oftentimes not budgeted. And
Correct.
so it really makes it easy to get the process done and most people will wait until it's backing up into their house before they contact you. But usually the failure starts a couple years earlier and you can tell it out in your yard as it tends to get soggy even in a dry year.
Right, right. And just, to add to that, average now is about $18,000 for a system, a three-bedroom system. And, just a caveat, the county does offer a a low-income grant program as well. So is funding available out of a grant program as well. So we encourage people to reach out to our office, ask us questions. That's what we're here for. We'll walk you through the process. It's easy. People can come in, we'll sit down, we'll even fill out the paperwork, help you fill out the paperwork. Yes, that's what we're there for.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? We have a motion and a second on Resolution 2025-26. All in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, and Logan, welcome. All right, at this time, Administrator Baker is presenting on a memorandum of understanding. Kelsey, go ahead.
Good morning, Kelsey Baker, Candioi County Administrator. Before you today, we have 3 MOUs. One of them is for the ESST, and the 2 other ones are for the paid family leave. I'm going to take up the ESST first, and that's, I believe, last in your board packet. We'll take these 3 separately, just so that the board chair knows we'll take 3 requests separately. So I'm going to take up the Law Enforcement Labor Services Local Number 191. That's our public safety telecommunicators. This union was very straightforward, very willing to sign an MOU with us regarding ESST language, which basically it's related to closure of the employee's place of business or to care for a family member. And so because these are safety employees, we would still ask them to come to work, but they are still covered under ESST, but not, they have another option then as well. And so this MOUs will just clarify the certain positions that may be exempt from the statute due to the emergency nature of the work.
And this is something that came up because we had already negotiated the contracts, and then this came forward from the state.
Correct, and we didn't have any of this language within their contract.
And so that necessitates the memorandum of understanding then. All right.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Berg.
Thank you. I also move that we approve the memo of understanding between Candioi County and Law Enforcement Labor Services of Local 191.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Dwayne Anderson seconds. Discussion? Pretty straightforward. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right, next one.
These 2 next ones, I'll kind of speak togetherly, but take action separately. Again, this is Unit 191, which is our public safety telecommunicators, and then Unit 22, which is our deputies. And to caveat a little bit of this, Katie Zemer, our Human Resources Director, is working with all unions to work towards getting MOUs into place prior to January 1, 2026. As you all are aware of, paid family leave goes into effect January 1, 2026, and it is a bargain negotiable item for employees, for union employees. And so we are very comfortable and feel really good about this start for an MOU because our contracts are up at the end of 2026. And so we're very supportive of the LALS union reps to be forward with this, and we are starting off with a paid family leave of a 50-50 split that would go into effect starting January 1. And this would be the premium that's paid through payroll deductions, and that's pursuant to the statute 268B.14. And so we feel really comfortable with the 50-50 split to start this off. That is what we're seeking with the other unions as well. We just haven't gotten those MOUs prepared and approved by the unions and ready for board. Any questions regarding these 2 MOUs?
Commissioner.
Are we going to handle them separately or
Yes.
together? Okay. Which one would you want us to move on first? I'll move on.
191, the public safety telecommunicators.
I'll move on to 191 telecommunication services.
That's good.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll
Is there a
second that.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I'll second that.
All right, any questions, discussion?
Just one
Commissioner
comment,
Embeck.
and I think I know the answer to this. So on ESST, we are not able to split those costs with the employees.
Correct, we
Paid family
provide,
leave, we can.
yes, yep.
All right, anybody else? All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And the last,
And then the second one that we are seeking for approval today is local number 22 for the deputies, and this is the paid family leave as well. Same language, different group.
all right, good. Any questions? Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Chair will second. Discussion. All right, hearing none, all in favor of the MOU with Local 22 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And you have another item for us, yes?
I do. Can I keep going?
Yes, please.
All right, so this board request is for the Prairie Woods Environmental Learning Center Agreement for Operations. Jennifer Swenson is here as the Executive Director of Prairie Woods. I think Jennifer and I have been talking about this for 2 years since we've both been here, about the relationship between Candioi County and Prairie Woods Environmental Learning Center. It was really a forward-thinking action item that was done years ago that was really a handshake deal. And so I think what Jennifer and I were looking for within this agreement was basically some understanding from both parties, so there isn't any confusion. It is on county property. So how does Prairie Woods and Jennifer provide updates in a timely fashion to the county board? What do we know is approved, what's not approved? And so this was really an easy sort of agreement, but we looked at, you know, what does need to be done. So it's more so like the capital equipment or capital improvement planning process that Jennifer would come and provide an update to the board. Anything that would exceed $100,000, she would come to the board and seek approval. Any ancillary things I'm gonna say, like our public works going out to mow, our community work service, like I said, the ditch mowing, the plowing, those types of things, the county or myself don't need to be involved in. That's something that Jennifer can handle on a daily basis, and she's been doing that anyways. And so it's really more so the capital improvement planning process that Jennifer and I would connect on, plan the upcoming board meeting for a presentation, and then seek approval from the County Board of Commissioners. One thing, Jennifer, when we met and we talked about this, we also did question that $100,000. I did have the county attorney Shane Baker review it as well. This was something that we felt comfortable with to start with. It is a 5-year plan. However, we both feel comfortable and confident that we would go back to our board and say, you know what, this does need to be increased, because we do have representatives that sit on the Prairie Woods Board as well. But we just wanted to make sure that clear communication is coming from both parties to kind of kick this off until we all feel comfortable with that. And so we're both willing to maybe amend the contract moving forward, even if it's in the mid-5-year. So with that said, we are asking approval for the agreement. The Prairie Woods Environmental Learning Center Board already approved 2 weeks ago, July 21st, I believe, was your board date, and they approved it. I hope I answered that question regarding the dollar amount. Other than that, we would be seeking approval for the agreement today. And I will stand with any questions.
All right, any questions for the administrator or the director? None? Jennifer, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Jennifer Swenson, Executive Director, Prairie Woods Environmental Learning Center. And Prairie Woods just wants to thank the county board for the continued support and partnership, and feels this agreement will just allow us to continue to take good care of the property and operate our programs, as well as to plan for improvements to serve the public going forward.
And there's an event coming up fairly quickly, yes? Prairie
Sure,
Pothole?
our annual fundraiser, Prairie Stars, is Thursday. Is that the
Prairie
one?
Stars, and then
Yeah.
you're hosting Prairie Pothole Days again.
Same weekend, yes.
Outstanding. All right, anybody else? I'll entertain a motion to approve the agreement.
I so move.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agreement between the parties. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you so much. And Kelsey, you've got two more items. Do you want to take them up there, or?
Yes, well, my name's on there, but I cannot take the credit for these reports. So Kelsey Baker will, as discussed, kind of in the last year and a half, we're doing more quarterly financial reports to the board to keep you kind of in the loop. This information is provided on a quarterly basis. And so I will have the finance staff here. I believe Karen just walked up, but we'll take Carol Tellefson first with Health and Human Services. And really, this is what I have guided them to provide today is a high-level overview of where we're at for the quarter, where we're at year-to-date, and to just provide a snippet of what these staff do 100% of their time. These are the ones that are managing our budgets, keeping us all in check and in line. And so I will let them present their information, and then if there's any follow-up questions, I can answer those as well.
Outstanding, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Carol Tollefson, Fiscal Supervisor for Health and Human Services. So like Kelsey said, we are halfway through the year. So looking at my document, I think you all have it. Again, if we were 100% on track, each of these lines would be at 50%. As you can see, our expenditures are under 50, which I don't think anyone complains about. That's a good thing. So I'm going to focus on our revenues. Some of those are lagging behind, and so I do have explanations on those. Okay, our state revenue is at 48%. So with our state revenue, we get some big allocations in July. July is the first month of the state fiscal year. So we are getting our VCAA allocation of $588,000, our child protection grant of $318,000, and our adult protection grant of $105,000. So again, all of those will come in July, so that will improve that line. Our recoveries line is actually very negative. We're at negative 109%. So what this is we do the recoveries for all of the programs, our eligibility handles like our MFIP, our SNAP, our GA, MSA, GRH, MA, okay? So when a client doesn't report assets and income timely, accurately, then we can recover. So again, we do the recovery work. We do the billing, we do the recovery. Okay, so then the county gets to keep just a portion of that. So with this, it's hard when you look at this from just the beginning of the year. So this recovery line overall, again, since the beginning of time, is solid, is a positive number. But when you look at it just from the beginning of the year, so in medical assistance, which is mainly our estate recoveries when someone passes away, we recover from the estate. We have collected in 2025 $195,000. We have paid $285,000. Now that's because the state is behind in billing us. In 2025, we've paid for November and December of '24. So again, when you're looking at this account from just the beginning of the year, it's going to look negative occasionally, okay? But overall, again, since the beginning of time, yes, our recoveries, we do well. So with MA, we get to keep only 25%. Again, our staff do the work, do the recoveries. Our incentive, they call it a county incentive, we keep 25% of what we recover. It's a little different for each program. SNAP is a little bit, I think SNAP we get 35%. So again, that's why that line looks off, because again, when you're looking just from the beginning of the year, we've paid out more than we've recovered. Okay, the next line, fees and other revenues, we're at 37%. The main reason this is down and really will never catch up is we had budgeted some revenue here to cover our opioid position that we hired. We got the ORAC grant, which I know you're all familiar with, Opioid Epidemic Response Grant. When we initially were going to receive these revenues, we'd put it in this line. But then after talking with Karen Anderson, it just made more sense, since we do this with the probation, it made more sense to keep these sort of their own fund. So the ins and outs of the ORAC dollars are somewhere else. They never will show up here. So we had $120,000 budgeted here that will never show on this line. We are getting it, our costs are covered, but it's just not gonna show here. All right, the other line, managed care revenues, are at 42%. So This is one of those lines, so we bill all the PMAPs that we have, the prepaid medical assistance plans, which assigned to our county is Blue Cross and Prime West. But then we're also able to bill all the other PMAPs in the state. So if someone moves here from another county and say they have Medicare, Medica, say they have Medica, but when they move here, they have to be a resident here for 2 months before they can go on one of our PMAPs. So we bill Medica, we bill UCare, we bill all the PMAPs, because again, when they move here, there's 2 months that they're still covered by that other plan. So the reason this is down is because this is where we're seeing the state overall being behind in processing the MA apps, okay, with the unwinding. So a lot of our clients have lost their MA coverage. We're still serving them, we're still doing our targeted case management with them, but they've lost their MA coverage. So that's why we're seeing that. Hopefully now, as our county and other counties are catching up, hopefully we'll see that back on track. But otherwise, again, overall, our revenues are at 51%, but there are a few lines that were down. I just wanted to explain. So I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Commissioner Imdahl.
Thank you. Carol, going back to the recoveries on public assistance, I'm not questioning the percent, which is, as you pointed out, is pretty dramatic. But is that the area we hear so much about in the big, beautiful bill, that if, number one, where the error rate is, and every county, gets rated based on their error rate? And is it also going to be increased, the amount of work that, or what do you call that, eligibility work be increased? And now I think they're also proposing that if there's an error, the county's going to have to pay for the error. Can you expound on, am I talking about the same area in which that takes place?
Yes and no. So really where we're going to see that error rate is up in our federal line. That's our FFP, our federal financial participation. Anything we pay for in human services, we get federal funding for in certain percentages. Based on the state's error rate overall, we'll probably lose some of that federal funding, some of that FFP.
Because we're at like 13%, or in that bracket where it's.
I watched the presentation, but I couldn't tell you, I'm sorry. But that's where we'll see that drop in our FFP. The recoveries purchase, so again, all those programs I mentioned, the MFIP, the SNAP, the GA, MSA, RCA, what that is, again, during COVID, no one had to report their income and assets. Or again, not very often, right? People's lives change, but again, you only had to report maybe once a year. Some they suspended really indefinitely. So now that that's back on track, now where we're again having to look at these eligibilities for all these programs more often, we probably will see an increase here because again, people weren't used to reporting that. There's different reporting requirements, lower income standards. So that line in itself, we probably will see go up because of that reporting requirement. But our FFP, that's where we'll see that go down with the big, beautiful bill.
Thank you for that
Yeah.
explanation.
Anyone else? Commissioner Berg.
Mr. Chair, thank you. First off, I want to just comment, I have two comments, I guess. Was it formatted? This looks very familiar.
Yes,
And
Sheila's
I
format.
appreciate the presentation that you gave. Also, I appreciate that you anticipated every question I had. I went through this before, and I thought, oh, I got to ask about this or that, or I think this is what that is about. So, very good report, and appreciate having this update.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right then.
And then we'll have Paul come up, but just to explain, Commissioner Imdahl, just a little bit, that error rate, that will increase our budget because that is something that we don't have budgeted for right now. And so we will have to be prepared for something like this, starting this fall, probably, I think it's October 1st, that it goes into effect. And so I think specifically with, we always say budgets are moving targets, right? But with this specific Health and Human Services budget, the Human Services Fund, we are really working with a moving target right now because things are changing and this is all new to us and it will be new administrative duties that we'll have to be doing. And just coming off the unwinding that Carol was talking about, and now this will be something new to employees and new to the public. So just wanted to insert that real quick.
I am Bob Walker, the accountant for Public Works.
Carol gave a nice, precise presentation. I like the idea of a moving budget. That is where we're at.
You have something else.
Yes, anything but. One of the things you gotta know that we're dependent upon the weather, we depend upon jobs, depend upon timing. We'll start with looking at our revenue. So far, we have $8 million in, but you start going down, the property tax of 2.6, that came in end of January, beginning of February. The intergovernmental, the property tax was June. The intergovernmental was January and February. The only thing that was consistent that's of a large amount is our transit tax, sales transit. Comes in on a regular basis. And if you extend this out, on July 7th, we got in our 90% of our eligible regular maintenance, regular county constructions of 4.1 million. And on the same day, we had the 40% regular maintenance that we get in for 1.4. So $5.6 million came in basically 2 weeks after this quarter ended. So you don't have this month, we're gonna do this. This month, we're gonna have this much come in. We're all over the part. Then, when we come to expenses, we have our 4 areas: admin, maintenance, construction, and shop. And shop consists of buildings and equipment. And all these, especially the maintenance one, is maintenance and. We do work for the townships, we do work with the cities, interdepartmental, DNR. All those costs go into 303, but then it also, we have revenue coming in, so it's never a true only road cost, it's other costs. If we need road costs, that's where it goes to my cost accounting system. Two-book system, doesn't sound good, but that's the way we go. Then let's just jump down to construction, the contract payments. That's 2.4 million. Of that, 2.2 million is finishing up last year's work. And that means only roughly 228,000 was done this year. However, again, we go 2 months or 2 weeks later, on July 14th, we write out to Central Specialties a check for $3.9 million for the start of this year's construction. Our whole thing is more of a when and how, and look at the whole. Mel and I will sit down and say, where are we at? Compared to what we think we are as far as what we think the budget is going to be by the end of the year versus by month, are we hitting our targets? So, any questions?
Any questions from the board?
Just,
Commissioner Imdak.
That lag or sometimes, the early bump is not very much different from farming. You have your biggest expense when you're starting to buy all the inputs, and that bill might come, before you ever put the crop in the ground, and you might not sell that crop till the following year, so you get this accrual type of situation. Even in our business, you think it's pretty straightforward, but in July, all of our Christmas stuff is arriving, and so now we're paying for the Christmas stuff in July. We don't take the revenue in, so I guess I pretty much understand the numbers, how they can be so wacky. You're only at, 10% of your construction payments, 11% at this point, but come November, we're gonna see a pretty big change in that.
Yep.
All right, Commissioner Dwayne Anderson.
Yeah, so since everything is kind of all over the place, are there any numbers on here that kind of make you nervous and hope?
No.
Oh, okay, that was.
If you look at.
I usually ask that at a lot of my committees, you know, if there's anything on here, because, you know, we don't know if it's, you know, it says 44%, if it should be.
You know, I look at it and over the trend of several years,
Yeah.
it's basically right where we're at.
Okay,
Being the weather, being the storms, being the whatever. You put all these little factors into it and go, we're good.
all right, thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, well,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. And Karen, good morning.
Good morning. Karen Anderson, County CFO. And in your packets, you received the 2025 year-to-date through ending June 30th, actual to budget summary. Our total expenses are at 44% and total revenues are at 50%. So we're doing really well on both and right where we should be. Going through the summary, I didn't see any departments that were far off the target, the 50% target. And I think we attribute that to the staff doing a really good job with projecting the budgets and following the budgets we have set. So we're truly hoping that this trend continues throughout the year. I don't know, did you have any questions on any specific departments?
Commissioners? I'm just looking at the revenue fund total on the expense side, and that's at about 65%. But is that maybe something that's due to timing of certain items? Just in general?
It definitely is timing. You know, as Paul had said, we've gotten in a lot of money in July for different programs. I think that pretty well is where we're at. It's just the timing.
Because as you indicated, everything else seems to be within, you know.
Yeah, there was really nothing that flew off the page signaling anything.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any other questions other than that. Does the other commissioners have anything? All right. Karen, thank you so much.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work that you do, and Carol, thank you again so much as well. All right, so that is the second quarter financial report. Do we want to take a 5-minute recess here, commissioners? Sure. Or do you want to continue?
Yeah, I think it'll be fine.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute recess.
You guys gonna say.
I'm trying to.
Hey, T, are you ready?
We invited him for you.
Yes.
Lights on, folks. All right, the Candiota County Board of Commissioners is back in session, and we will pick up with Administrator Baker and the 2026 budget preview. And my understanding, this is kind of a high-level pre-peak, so to speak. Kelsey, go
Yeah,
ahead.
kind of a, it was mentioned to have something regarding the budget at this first meeting, and I really toyed with this because I don't want to give too much information because we're still finalizing. We're still having some secondary meetings between schedules. Karen and I just met yesterday. We went through budget number 3. We're still making changes to that. And so we're hopefully we'll have budget number 4 ready to go for August 19th. But to kind of do a budget preview, within your board packet, there were, I think, a list of 8 items, 7 items that I kind of laid out that are high drivers to the 2026 budget, high drivers or state aid dollars. And so I think the biggest thing that I'm going to say hit you all with is typically we have 26 pay periods in a calendar year, and this year we have 27 pay periods, which amounts to a 1.7 million difference right off the bat in our payroll budget.
In 2026.
So, yes, 6.
Okay.
Sorry.
You said this year.
Sorry, 2026 budget. And so those are additional payroll costs that we don't typically budget for. This happened a number of years ago and we missed it, and we just made a journal entry within our audit and explained that to our auditors. It's kind of I'm talking with other administrators and finance directors on how they're looking at this and how they're budgeting for it. It's really mixed right now, so I'm looking into more information, and I'll have more of a recommendation at the budget work session and at the next board meeting. However, right now, I think the main finance directors, and between Karen and I, we feel most comfortable that it does need to be budgeted for. It's additional payroll costs that should be accounted for within our budget. We're also preparing for the closure of the demolition landfill. We have engineering costs, and then we have closure costs. That comes with a cost to close that part of our landfill. And so that's explained in there. We're looking at our capital equipment purchases that's funded through landfill and road and bridge and facilities. We're looking at how can we use our reserves to offset those one-time expenditures, which I think the board has been in favor of in past practice. In 2026, we'll have an election year, so it's not a huge cost, but it is a cost that fluctuates between election and non-election years. We're in the process of evaluating our facility needs. We completed a space study. We recently had a work session regarding building projects and what does the future look like. And that's not something I haven't stopped working on. I'm still looking at what are the financial options that we could have with future building projects. And so that we're not just kicking that can down the road because we don't know what the next 5 years looks like. At least we need to do that strategic planning and be prepared for that, and to provide that good recommendation to the board on what would your options be if you were to take action on a building project. But these building projects do include renovations or, new construction, but we need to look at all options as well and be strategically prepared for when that time comes. I did list in some of our state aid and funding sources. These are very generic. They're not all, as Carol Tullefson explained, I didn't put the child support, the child protection, all the state aids that we do get. If I would have done that, this would have been a lot longer list. But I think the big thing is our county program aid did decrease slightly, around $125,000. It's coming in at $3,208,391. Very minimal. Last year, our county program aid was 3.3, and I think that's something that this board can think themselves and account for by all the advocacy work around talking with our legislators along with AMC and the work that you all do to keep that county program aid high. I think what's hard, we're still not at the levels that we were at in 2012, 2011 and 10. Counties are still working back up to those levels, but I think one thing that AMC does across the board that's so well is that we might have seen a dip, another county might have seen an increase, but at the end of the day, those numbers are staying high, and that's what we do. We deserve that for the work that counties do within the state of Minnesota. And then I just listed, the housing support, the local homeless aid, riparian aid, and then AIS. That was really in there was a lot of discussion around that with the 50% reduction and things like that, because we have AIS. And so we were looking at what that would look like then in our county if that were to happen. And so really the next steps will be our August 19th budget work session. Last year I had all departments come in and do kind of a very high level overview of their department. This year we're going to kind of zone in on the few larger departments. We'll have Public Works, Health and Human Services, Landfill, Facilities, and Technology here to kind of like I said, zone in and kind of talk about what are our key drivers to the 2026 budget. What are we looking at creatively? How are we looking at our staff? And I think in 2026, when we look at the budget, and I have conversations, we're still looking at technology. I think that's a really big thing, especially with all of the technology that's happening. And the biggest thing, I can't remember which commissioner said it, might have been Roger, that if we pay for software but we don't utilize it, it's a waste. And I think I'm a huge proponent that if we're going to pay for this, we have to learn how to use it. And Melissa, I always use the example of your board software. When we had a transition between staff, I kind of dove in and figured out how can we utilize to the best of our ability with the software. And I would say the work that Melissa has done moving forward is completely kind of streamlined some of the process and how we get the board packet out now. So it's taking the time and allowing that learning curve, because technology is hard. I'm scared of technology sometimes. And so it's taken that time to allow the learning curve and allow mistakes to be had. And how do we figure that out and move forward? Because in the long run, it is going to help us do our job. We talked a lot about going into the 2025 budget, strategic planning. My goal was to have the strategic plan be adopted by the board today. We're just not quite there with the logo, so hopefully at the next board meeting, we'll have that ready. But I think we still are in our planning process. We're going through the building plan. We're looking at how our capital equipment processes, our capital improvement, our CIP, our CEP, and how are we planning to prepare for the future so when we do get those opportunities, that we are ready and that we are progressive in those areas and we can stay up to speed on that. Mel and I were just having the conversation regarding our parks and how do we plan better to prepare for potential grant opportunities, federal or state, or even local grant opportunities that are right here within our community that we could expand on and get some dollars in to provide more marketing, promotion, signage, things like that. And then I think the other kind of key point of the 2026 budget is that we're looking at our programs and services and we're doing a review of that, process, procedures. And so all of that kind of entangles into the planning and the technology. I have asked every department head, what's your mandated, what's your non-mandated services? And having those really tough conversations. I made many comments to some admin staff that these are hard conversations to have because these are employees that have these jobs and their friends and their neighbors. And so, but in times like this, we have to really fine tune that pencil and look at the services we're providing. Can we be more efficient? Does this help, be proactive in other areas that reduces other areas, right? Like that's a whole circle of things. And I am a true believer in government that yes, government can be reactive, but we want to be proactive because then that reduces other costs as well. So it's hard conversations that we're having with department heads, that I'm having with department heads. Like I said, Karen and I reviewed the budget yesterday, went through, we'll have another budget run. And so in the meantime, if you have any questions prior to the August 19th budget work session, please reach out to me. It's the number one thing I'm working on a daily basis is reviewing the budget and checking base with the finance staff and preparing the presentation for the 19th.
All right, and I did just want to comment very briefly, you mentioned the county program aid decreasing slightly, which is what it is.
Right.
But I think it's worth noting that we receive a relative drop in the bucket compared to what cities get in their local government aid. And I don't know if what the reasoning for that is, because, I mean, we're tasked with doing a lot, and maybe they think that they're funding it in other streams. I don't know what it is, but it'd sure be nice to have some equity at the state of Minnesota between county program aid and local government aid, and end of that rant. Any questions for
Yeah,
Administrator Baker?
I do have a question, whoops. I was thinking that's buffer strips, right, or riparian aid?
Correct, yep.
Did that get cut in half? Thought it was AIS that was gonna get cut.
It was. It wasn't riparian aid. Riparian aid, the Corn Growers Association was wanting to get part of the stipend as well. That didn't go through for 26 session. It was AIS that was looking at getting 50% cut.
And that didn't happen then.
Correct.
But it seemed like the riparian aid was larger than that.
We have, that is our appropriation per year, but we have more money in the account.
Right, but I was.
So I think
thinking
I think we have shown that, the account for that, and we do have, good amount of reserves in there.
That's another battle we're gonna have to kind of stay on top of, is to retain those, those allocations.
Right. Right.
And that will be a continuing battle, and of course, we have in about a month, we have our AMC Policy Conference starting, and that'll be kind of where the rubber hits the road, and I think we've got a real heavy lift at the legislature this year, not to mention anything at the federal level. Commissioner Burke?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to go over the budget plan now then. So the next board meeting after that, we're going to have a work session and some presentations, and then we'll be seeing the budget. We'll be seeing the budget before that at all?
Yep, so what I think we can typically do, hold on, let me pull up my calendar so I don't give you a wrong date. So then we'll typically, so prior from the 19th to September 2nd, when we have our next board meeting, depending on the feedback that I get from the commissioners on August 19th, I will provide any changes then that have happened, and we can do more of a presentation and discussion on this at the September 2nd meeting, if that's what you choose to do. And then at the September 16th, you would approve the preliminary levy. If we need to call, I think what's hard is because we will have two commissioners and staff head out to DC for the fly-in. And so I think what's hard, if we were to call a special meeting in September, we always could the 29th or 30th, those two last days, because the levy is due by September 30th.
Okay, well, my question is, will it be in our packet then for that meeting on the 19th, or the budget then? The preliminary budget that you come up with? I mean, this is like a preview of what might be part of that. So we haven't seen that yet. So the question is, will we see that before our meeting on the 19th?
Yep.
Okay.
The IFS report, I think last year it was in the board packet. I'd have to double check.
Okay, it'll be in the
but-
packet then, not
Yep, it
before
will be
that.
in the packet,
Okay.
and those are sent out Thursday afternoon, so you'll have,
And then we'll
that
wait
report.
to contact you individually and talk about the budget after that.
or you can talk about it ahead of time. I mean, I have the
Yeah.
IFS report.
Well,
I-
certain
like-
things, yes.
Yeah.
I think we have been, I'm sure other people have been too as well, come up, so.
Yeah, if some of that stuff is ready earlier, it probably wouldn't hurt
won't
us to
be.
have it before that Thursday, because now you're heading into a weekend. A lot of staff isn't even around on Fridays, a lot of times, so we don't have a lot of time to prepare before the meeting on the 19th. So if it's available, it'd be great to get it a little earlier.
And just to reiterate, then, we'll be having this will be first presented at the work session on the 19th. And then at our first meeting, we will have there'll be some further narrowing down of this. And then the following meeting after that is when we will certify the preliminary levy.
Correct.
So So there's going to be a work session?
Same
then on the
process as
on the
other
second?
years.
Commissioner, Chairperson, so you're saying we're going to have a work session on the 2nd then, too? Oh,
That'll be part of our regular meeting, yes?
Correct.
Okay.
well, so we are going to talk about the budget, though?
We can, yes, we absolutely
On the
can.
second.
That- I
On the
mean,
second, yeah.
I think it depends.
That's why I'm trying to sort through so we're meeting on the 19th as a work session, and it's going to be on the agenda to talk about it more on the 2nd, and then we're going to have a final meeting. So we're going to have probably plenty of time to talk about that then on the 2nd. Okay?
Any other questions for the administrator? All right, Chelsea, thank you. And we know there's still a lot of work to do on that, so.
Yep, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Oh, and Administrator Baker, too, my question, too, we're going to have some presentations. Part of those presentations, I'm sure they'll be addressing these issues, but since this is a unique year we're going into, as we all know, so I would really like to hear how each department is looking at any increases in certain areas and what they are basing that on. I'm sure there's some national increases that are going to have to take place, but also in some areas that they worked on to make some decreases as well, if they have some. And or if they're just got a neutral budget, that would be wonderful too.
So what I think I'm hearing you say is that you would prefer to have each department present at that time?
With the major ones, the ones that are presenting anyway, when they present, those are issues, I guess, that they're going to be talking about the budget, where they're coming in, or are they just talking about what they're going to be doing the next year? What's their presentation going to be about?
Their budget.
Yeah.
Their budget changes, their budget concerns, what's going to be coming
And
up for
percentage one way or the
2026,
other.
what were the drivers
Yep.
in those departments. So last year, the feedback was, oh, maybe we don't need all department heads here. It was too much. And so,
I'm okay with that.
yeah, so
No,
this
that's
year, that's where.
That's
where this year it will be Public Works, Health and Human Services, landfill, which are all typically done.
Yes.
Okay, the only two that I do think that we should add are, in my opinion, are facilities and technology. I feel that those are big drivers, and when we're looking at technology to streamline some of the work that we're doing, I think it's a great opportunity for Scott to come in and kind of update you, because technology is not cheap. I mean, we dedicated, the board approved to, I shouldn't say dedicated, allocate $500,000 for technology within the American Relief Plan dollars, and that didn't go far. And so when we are a large county like this, to update software, we need to be moving constantly, or that's how we get behind. And we're a little behind. And so how do we do that? How do we take advantage within Human Services? And I would say that's where Caroline and Carol and Scott are meeting to how do they take advantage of these reimbursements, because we can get reimbursements for that technology. So how do we do a better job on that billing, the billing side of things as well? And so we're taking a look at all of those opportunities. And so I think that's right. I'm just adding facilities and technology to that presentation. And absolutely, after the August 19th work session, if the board feels that we want to have some departments back and you want to learn more about something, please let us know, because then that's a quick turnaround time between meetings for the September 2nd. If we feel we need to add the budget meeting at the end and do a longer meeting, that's okay. That's what we'll do. And like I said too, I'm open. If we don't feel that we're ready at the 16th, I might not feel ready for a solid recommendation for preliminary. Maybe I can talk offline with some commissioners who are going to be gone in September. We could maybe move that second meeting in September to begin with anyways. So that's something that I think you have a lot to think about now in the next couple weeks, so that we can decide that at the August 19th meeting.
Commissioner Imdick.
Yeah, I think we might as well have that conversation now about that September 16th meeting, because when I'm looking at the flights, there's only time for about an hour-long meeting before we'd have to hit the road to catch a plane. And so I don't think we're going to be able to have much of a conversation. So we might as well accept the fact that we're going to have a different meeting, or have that budget discussion at a different meeting, even if it's a special meeting.
And you had indicated another option that might be,
Either moving the flight, or if only one of us are going there, then I'm comfortable, not being at the meeting, and, because by that time, all the hard work and elbow grease work will be done.
well, and especially when we're kind of getting down to brass tacks here, I'd hate to have any one of us gone for any meetings, especially where we're talking about the budget in September. So I think I think that, to Kelsey's point, we could have that conversation offline and come up with something. I'm looking at the clock here for that as well. So if everybody's okay with that, we'll have those conversations, look at the calendar, and come up with something. Is that fair enough? Yep. Okay. All right, we have one other, anything else, any other questions for the budget preview? We have one other action item, and that's at the very end here. I'm going to take that first. That's a request for appointment of Karen Kramer to the Candidacy County HRA Board of Commissioners. You've seen the letter from Director Bankston, and the City Council has made this recommendation for this particular position, and I would entertain a motion to approve Karen Kramer to the Candidacy County HRA.
Also move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. So that, excuse me. No, it's cold. So then we are down to administrative updates, calendar and committee reports. Anything else that you needed to add, Kelsey, in the way of updates?
No, other than, as you all are aware, the landfill property closed a few weeks back. I've been working with the staff to prepare on kind of what options we can have moving forward, and so I am preparing a request for proposal that we will send out to see if we can find a long-term lease agreement with an organization. And so, like I said, I'm working on that RFP, and then I will send that out, and that would come back to board.
Sounds good.
Then I don't have anything else, so that can wait.
And just to note that our Mark Thompson, who'd been our county auditor for years, recently retired. And do you want to?
Yeah, I do. I do have
update
two
folks?
personnel staffing issues I do want to talk about. The second one necessarily isn't personnel, but the first one is, yes, Mark Thompson, our long-term county auditor, treasurer, retired July 24th. So he didn't want to go out with a party or anything. And so he went out very quietly, and I'm already going to guess is enjoying retirement. And so we held interviews for that. And it was decided upon Lisa Weiss, who is currently our human resources generalist, who will be promoted to the auditor treasurer position. Lisa comes with a CPA, tons of auditing and accounting experience, already understanding some of our CPT software that she will be able to step into. One thing I always give Lisa so much credit for is her process and procedures, and just being able to dive in and dig into a process and figure out where we need to be and how we can get there. And so I'm really excited for her. In the meantime, I've been officing out of the downtown office, kind of figuring out some of those needs and resources that we need to get up to speed on, or anything else like that, just kind of the functions of the day-to-day office, which I always say that's all departments are important, but this one is, they're the checkbook of the county. Invoicing and auditing, things like that, accounting, reconciliations. It's a big deal. It's a big deal to be in that department. And so talking with the staff and making them have that ownership and pride in the work that they do is always something that we want to see happen. The other thing I just wanted to publicly say, is a huge thank you to our emergency management staff and our public works staff and Austin Hillenbrands with our drainage division within Public Works. When those storms came through Candioi County on the northern part, our teams were out Sunday night and they went until 11:30. And that's something that I don't think people think county government does. And I really wanted to publicly say thank you to them because they were out there making sure people were okay, our public safety, our law enforcement as well, making sure roads were clear so that we didn't have any accidents, clearing debris out. And it's not just our supervisors, it's all from top bottom. Mel and I were talking Sunday night. I'm not doing that work. They're communicating that work to me, which I really appreciate. Getting calls from Todd Miller, getting calls from Ace Bonema, Austin Hillebrands. I mean, they were really, our staff have really gone above and beyond. I feel like with this summer storms, we've been hit hard since May, between the rain, the weird weather, and then the rain again, and then the rain again. And so I feel that our staff have been doing a really good job, and I really wanted to publicly thank them for that because like I said, a lot of people maybe didn't know that a lot of our teams were out there Sunday night, not working till 9, working until late, and then all showing back up Monday morning. And I think for sure with our public roads, in situations like this, when Mel and I are talking, we didn't get to our roads until probably Thursday or Friday because we're making sure all the debris in the small cities are being able to recover and get that cleaned up. And then our Public Works team is going to the parks and making sure that people are able to still come and camp and enjoy Candioi County. And then by the end of the week, now they're getting to our roads. And so it's prioritizing, it's making sure that we're in communication where the needs are at, but it's our staff that make all this happen. And so I just always want to thank them for that.
Tomorrow's the last day, right? Is tomorrow the last day for the pickup? Or is that come and gone?
That's a New London only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Because of last Sunday storm.
That might be one thing to clarify, because we have had people ask that. There was a 1 week for the city of New London only. That doesn't mean all our roads, because we've had a little bit of that, and no, we're not just driving around picking up other people's debris.
So if I get a tree cut down yet this afternoon, it doesn't count?
Commissioner Berg.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I'm really glad you mentioned that, saying thank you to all our staff and our department heads. So much going on, so much going on. But also I want to say thank you to our administrator. You've had a lot going on as well then, right? And you've been having to do quite a balancing act, and you're doing a very good job of that, so thank you. And I just might go first if I may, on committee reports.
Yes.
Actually, I really want to just report on one. I've had several reports I could go into, but this is the one that's probably the most interesting one. Yesterday, we had a meeting with Prairie Lakes Youth Program, and at that meeting, we approved and signed an agreement, a lease for a building. And the building is located at 768 North Creek Drive. And I'm not sure most people even know where that's at, but it's just north of High Avenue, and you maybe not even know where High Avenue is, but we're, yes, kind of down that way. It's, between that or Soil and Water, where their office is, it's just probably the 2 buildings past that going east. And that's a drive that goes through up to Highway 71. And it's a building there that we agreed to lease and with an option to buy. And this is where I think it's really important that the board be aware of that. And the Prairie Lakes Youth Program is very interested in buying that property, and a percentage of the lease will apply to buying the property as we move forward. And we're looking at, as a joint powers, purchasing that property. But a lot of things have to be all worked out on those details. So there'll be more to come, and could be more involvement or more signing off on behalf of our board, or not knowing exactly which way that can be financed. But this building will be used for education purposes for the schools, and that they will be having 3 classrooms there taking place. It's a 2-story building, and on the second floor, we will be having our Prairie Lakes Youth Program calls it the Welcome Center, but that's the administration place that people come in with questions or whatever. That's where they would go, and that's where the administration will be housed. Right now, they're renting from Midwest for office space. So this will save some dollars there that we're renting that space because of the changes in you know, as we know from the lightning and the hitting that building and all these changes. This is to fill in that gap. And the Wilmer School is working with us as well as in reference to the costs taking place. So it's really exciting. And there's a lot to do between now and when school starts and to get it to fit. There's a lot of equipment, I'll say, and technology and stuff in the building existing, and that was all part of the deal as well. So we can move in and get right to it pretty much, even though there'll be some additional changes. So we're moving forward with that, and I'll keep you posted. And that's probably enough right now.
Thank you. Any questions for Commissioner Berg on that?
Yeah, how did you find that building? Did you work with a Realtor?
Yes, yes, and Edina Realty and Mr. Fenstra, we worked with on that one. And I believe, as a board, and we all were looking for other options. How do we deal with a situation that we didn't have a place for schooling the kids and for our offices, and how do we go forward and position ourselves? I think we still need to keep a focus that we have a lot of issues with a secure unit, and keeping that up because it's the maintenance, especially on the outside, is falling behind, and we get dinged by Minnesota Corrections Department on inspections. But Tammy Jo Liburg, she is on the board, and I think she's the one who came up with this suggestion, if I remember right. But anyway, somebody did, and I think it was her. And we looked at many other options, and this narrowed down and turned out to be the best option.
Outstanding, thank you. Commissioner Dale Anderson.
Just a couple of things. I had a CCT meeting with Steve. They're looking at a lot of different things to do for the organization as far as training for some of the people that are working there. And it's coming along. There's always some bumps in the road, but it's coming along, and they're working on trying to make it a better organization. Prairie Woods meeting, and went over the thing that we passed today, went through that and some of the upcoming projects that they're looking at doing at Prairie Woods, and some of the new stuff for the new trails and the destination park that they're looking at doing in the future. So yeah, a lot of changes there. Got some programming going again now. They got a new person hired back for that. So things are going well. And the only other thing I wanted to say is tourism committee meeting was yesterday. I wasn't able to attend, but there's two things going on that are kind of big milestones for this area, and that's the last Rockin' Robins tonight, and then the county fair. So take time and go out and enjoy the things that are going on, because summer's just about gone. But that's all I have.
Summer's almost gone. Thank you for cheering us up.
The days are getting shorter.
Commissioner Inbeck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dale just mentioned the Prairie Woods ELC meeting, so I won't touch on that. We had a Glacier Lake Sanitary Sewer and Water District meeting. That construction continues to go on out there. I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on. We meet in Spicer at Detloff Center now because there's really no place to meet out there because they're adding on to the office building. Just no place to meet. We had a broadband meeting yesterday, and Dwayne can talk about. We had a real robust discussion, kind of the meeting after the meeting, if you will, on how do all the low-hanging fruit's been picked.
Yeah.
And so we've said for years, the hardest mile to get is gonna be the last mile, and that's kind of what we're facing now. The border-to-border legislature did not put any money in the border-to-border program. The BEAD dollars are quite restrictive. And so, we talked about how do we come up with the funding to keep it moving forward, even if it's gonna be slow. And then finally, the Legislative Commission on Minnesota Resources, LCCMR, did advance the DNR request for the Glacial Lakes Trail funding, I think in $4.9 million, and maybe Mel or other people who work with grants know this better than I. There's still several steps to go. It's not like we'll start building next week or anything, but that was a big step, you know, and I think the dollars could go, probably not up, but could go down yet when the committee at the legislature does the appropriations. Is that correct, Mel? Usually?
Yeah, yeah.
But that was a big first step. Thanks to the board and all the other entities that I contacted for sending in those letters of support.
Commissioner Dwayne Anderson.
Since our last, excuse me, since our last board meeting on the 17th, I had a Pioneer Land Library Executive Finance meeting. Pretty much routine, I guess, not a lot going on there. Then we had, I went to Weed Fest, which was kind of an on my own thing, but they always invite a commissioner or two.
Weed Fest or Weed Fest?
Weed Fest.
And was it not just weeds or was it?
Yeah, you bring in your noxious weeds or whatever, and then they usually have somebody there
Funny how we
from
all jump
DNR or
on that.
wherever to identify those weeds. So, and they kind of put on a nice event there at the county park there in Diamond Lake. Anyway, moving on. Then on the 28th, I had a Central Minnesota Emergency Services training session. That was all day up in St. Cloud. And then 2 days later, I went back for Central Minnesota Emergency Management Services regular board meeting. So I just want to kind of say, when you become a commissioner, you get put on committees and you go, okay, that meets once a month or whatever. But then as you are there longer, you kind of get put in more positions of power, which also means more meetings. So it gets to be a lot sometimes. Anyway, so on the 31st, we had a veterans cruise for the veteran benefits, and it was a good event. One veteran, he kind of got hurt the night before, but he really wanted to go on the cruise, and he didn't really say anything. And so then Annabeth afterwards, she ended up bringing him into ER because he mentioned that, and he said he had to go to the doctor after the cruise, but he wanted to go on the cruise. So these guys are pretty tough, and so I really have a lot of respect for them, for what they've all done, and they really are an inspiration to people. So that was a fun event. That was on Green Lake. And then yesterday was the EDC broadband, and it was more of a kind of a refresher where we are as far as a county. As far as 5-6 years ago, we've come a long way to get fiber to the home, but now we're gonna have a few challenges here going forward as far as funding, and that's gonna be kind of a challenge going forward. We gotta kind of figure out if we want to keep going with fiber optic or if we're gonna, what our options are. So we're gonna have to make some decisions as a county, as we go forward with broadband. And then later after that was Vision 2040 meeting, and that was pretty much, I would say, pretty much routine. So, and that was with Administrator Kelsey Baker, that was also there online. I guess that's it for me.
All right, thank you. And before I give my report, I just want to note that we do have a proposed road and bridge work session for August 11th from 1:30 to 3:30. You should have all received an invite to that. And is there any issue with that time or date for anybody?
You use the word propose, it's not propose, it's on the calendar, right?
It is on the calendar. It says proposed in the,
Your staff.
and so I'm just following up and making sure that we're all good for that date. Yes? Okay, good.
Thank you.
Yep, no worries. And then mine is relatively brief. We had a number of interviews for the business development manager position at KCED that is part of that committee that sat in on those, and we do not have someone for that position as of yet, and there will be, we'll see what the next steps are in that regard. was able to sit down with Kelsey and a couple of our counterparts from the city of Wilmer, having an informal discussion just on things in general and areas that we could potentially collaborate in. And a lot of stuff with CCT and, and then on the 18th, I put my signature to the documents for the purchase on the property out by the landfill. That'll be the only time I put my signature to that kind of money on most any kind of real estate purchase, I'm sure. And I think primarily that's kind of it. I've never been so busy doing this work in the month of July of all months as I was last month. So I was very grateful for the fifth week of the month to roll around. So Commissioner Imdak.
Just maybe think of something. You sent out a schedule for the fair that
Yes.
was, I didn't see my name on it.
Yeah, I didn't,
Yeah, but I sent an email to you 2 times and I didn't see my name on the schedule.
okay, I don't know that I've seen that, so let's,
think sometimes when you said no.
I mean, I got enough going on, but
yeah, understood, so. But yeah, we can touch base on that. Does anyone else have anything for the good of the order? Otherwise, we will adjourn the Candiota County Board of Commissioners meeting. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your week and rest of your summer.
rest of our summer, we got more
Yes,
meetings to go.